Awesome, man. And I have Winston Wright on the podcast today. And Winston is from Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. Has an NFL background, football career, inspirational. So we're going to kind of jump right into it, Winston. So first, thanks for being on the podcast today, man. I know we connected on Instagram, and I was drawn to your page because there was some inspiring posts, and you could tell that you just had some depth to you, and I feel like I love to connect with people that have a bigger purpose, that are looking to do something impactful in their lives. So I'm very grateful that you're here today on the podcast.
Well, absolutely, Blake. I appreciate you inviting me on, man. I felt the same about your Instagram page. That's why I followed you, right?
Yeah.
Real recognized, real, brother. So,
yes, sir.
Man, thankful for the opportunity to be on here and really just share what God has done in my life and I guess kind of what's coming down the pipe.
Awesome, man. Cool. So let's jump right into it, man. So kind of give us a little bit of a background, your story. Obviously you have a football career. So tell us a little bit about how you got into football and some of the lessons you learned along the ways.
Sure. So football and sports really have been a really instrumental part in my life, just growing up. My dad, I've been very blessed, man. My dad has invested in me spiritually, in every arena, but sports was really like a big rock for us growing up. So, man, just as you get, sports helps you with intangibles, right? The the ability to work hard and
right.
Practice. And one thing for me, I think that's really benefited me is that I'm 5'9". And so growing up, man, I've always kind of been on the smaller side of things. The Lord has blessed me with some speed, maybe a little quickness.
Yeah.
Some of that is natural, but I always had to fight to find an edge. And no matter what that looked like, but it usually looked like the details, and it usually looked like doing just a little bit more than the next person. So I would say those are some of the things that sports and football and my dad, has instilled in me. And after high school, I went to South Dakota State University, graduated, All-American there. And then I had an opportunity to play with the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
Man, man, it was an amazing opportunity, a dream come true. But the NFL stands for not for long. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. But an amazing journey to get there. And I wouldn't trade, all the hard work and time to get there, man, for anything.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You hit a few key things. I think, you're saying, God didn't give you the height, but because of that, it kind of sparked this, intensity and focus to kind of maybe overcompensate. But by overcompensating, you develop better skills. You develop an advantage. You develop kind of like that edge, like you said. And I feel like that's so crucial. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs and business people and athletes that I talk to, there was always something that was kind of a thorn in their side, but that was a catalyst to kind of help them have that competitive edge. You know what I mean? I think it's actually a blessing, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, brother. I agree wholeheartedly. In scripture, it talks about when you're weak, he is strong.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's like, man, don't shun away from those weaknesses or the things that you perceive as weaknesses, because as you mentioned, those things actually end up being strengths in other areas of life. So
100%, man. I think that's huge for people to understand, because every person's going to have a challenge. But I think sometimes in life we look at challenges the wrong way. We look at them as like, oh, I'm not sufficient, or I can't do this, or I wasn't blessed with this. But it may be that spark or that catalyst to kind of pivot you to where God wants to take you, where your strengths are abundant. So I think that's awesome, man. So you get into the NFL, Tennessee Titans. You said, it maybe wasn't as long of a journey as you may like. Tell us a little bit about that. What were some of your key takeaways? Just, because I mean, to make it to pro sports, I mean, we're talking a very small percentage of the population. So that's huge just to be able to get to that place.
Sure. Yeah, brother. It's once you get to that level, everybody's good.
Yeah.
Right. And I played Division I football, and there were a lot of amazing athletes, but when you get to the NFL, you have what's called your freaks.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are your guys that are 6'6", but are moving like me, being 5'9".
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so and so everybody's good, and there's an aspect of it that I love, because whatever's going to bring out the best in you, or in me, that's what I want.
Right.
I've learned and discovered just over the I'm 30, just over the time that I've been on this earth, is, dude, if I don't have a challenge, if I don't have something in front of me that is going to bring out the absolute best in me, I'll be unfulfilled in a sense.
Right. Absolutely.
And so the NFL did that. All of the things that brought me there, I continue to do those things and some, right, to try to stay. So, yeah, man, I think as far as maybe some things that the NFL taught me is, man, there's always somebody out there that's, is equally as good or better.
Right.
But again, just trying to find that edge, man, whatever that looks like.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I mean, it's cool just to be here. So I'm from Houston, and so the Titans are old, way back in the day, the Oilers.
Oilers. Oh yeah.
And it's crazy, man, because I remember being a kid, my dad was a huge Houston Oiler fan, and we'd go to the games, and their owner, Bud Adams, wanted a new stadium, and Houston would not rebuild a new stadium. So he left and went to Tennessee. And then we created the Texans after that. And I was like, man, why couldn't we give them a stadium? But it all works out, man. It all works out.
Man. Yeah, man. Them Oilers. Hey, I kind of remember those days a little
bit. Yeah.
I was young, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with the Rams in St. Louis. Now they're out in LA.
Absolutely.
Just build the stadium, man.
I know, man. Just make it happen. But St. Louis had, the St. Louis Rams, they had with Kurt Warner, back in the day, they were unbelievable. So they had a few years there.
Absolutely. Greatest show on turf.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So awesome, man. So you go to NFL, you have your experience there, and then you transition. So what was your transition like after NFL? What were your next steps, moving forward from there?
Sure. So I ended my time with the Titans with the tibia stretch fracture. And so that sidelined me. I had an injury, and stress fractures take a while to heal up. So it's almost better that it's just a clean break. You get surgery, but those stress fractures kind of linger. So I actually set out for a year, and then I went to play football for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Canada, the CFL.
Okay. And
so I did that for a year. Got injured again. I just kept getting the injury bug, man, in my professional days. I ended up in Los Angeles playing for the LA Kiss. Kiss, the band. Paul and Gene Simmons had a football team. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, man. So, interesting to say the least, brother. And and I actually had a teammate who was involved in the industry, like acting, modeling, and being from Kansas City, bro, we're blue collar.
Yeah.
My pops, steel toe boots, that's all I ever known.
Yep.
It's football and working hard. So I get out to LA, and one of my teammates invites me to a State Farm commercial. Aaron Rodgers is there, and I met a casting director, and he just started flying me like across the country to do these commercials. Yo, bro. Yes. Yeah. Yo, man. It was a interesting, fun season of life. And I started making more money acting like a football player than being a real football player.
Wow.
So I said, all right. So I said, I'm done.
And no injuries, no injuries with it.
No injuries, brother.
That's
Exactly.
cool.
Yep.
Dang, that's awesome, man. So you did, so what kind of commercials were you doing?
So we did a State Farm. My biggest one was one I did with Odell Beckham. It's
Okay.
a Head and Shoulders commercial.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a Head and Shoulders commercial, man. Hyundai, Toyota, different type of car commercials, and yeah, man, I did a handful of them.
That
So,
that actually sounds fun.
dude, it
Yeah.
was. The coolest part of it is the people you meet on set,
Yeah.
and just to hear other people's stories and how they got to LA, and it's people all across the country that fly out there to do this, and I would have never moved to LA to pursue a acting career or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how life can work sometimes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds like a fun experience. So it's funny how life kind of takes you places you don't expect sometimes, that's really, really cool. So you do you got the football, and then you kind of go in and you do some media, some commercials. What was the next steps? I mean, what did life kind of lead you on your path moving forward from that?
Sure. So in LA, man, I kind of hit a crossroads, right? LA is not Kansas City by any means. It is unique. There's no other
Mm,
place like it. And there's a few other places in the world, that are just unique. You have to go there, and there's no other place like it. LA is
right.
one of those places. And so, man, I began to do well in these commercials, but LA was kind of getting the better of me. Uh, and again, man, I grew up as a believer in Christ.
Mm,
I grew up a Christian. My dad got saved when I was young, and he has an amazing testimony. So I knew, like, early on, like, God was real. Like, nobody could tell me otherwise, because I seen literally my dad's life be transformed
right.
by Jesus, right? But again, I get out to LA, and man, it's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And I was having a really difficult time finding my people, my community, people that kind of held similar values and all of that. So I kid you not, I just knew I had to come back home. I
Mm,
said, I'm gonna leave all of this in LA. I need to get back home, because my spirit, my emotional health, all of those things were more important to me than continuing on the path I was on in LA.
wow.
And yeah, man, so very tough decision to make. But I come home, and not even 2 months later, I meet my wife. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I meet my wife, man.
See that
And
that that's yeah, you were being led by that. You're like, hey man, you gotta get out of here.
come on,
Yeah.
exactly. The Lord was
Yeah.
like, I got something for you. Just
Yeah.
head back home.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, blessing always follows obedience.
Yes.
And and I need to be obedient. And and now I'm married. We've been married for 2.5 years, going on 3, and we have 2 little girls now.
That's awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful baby girls. So I'm a girl dad.
Yeah. That's awesome,
Yes,
man.
sir.
That's
Yeah.
that's a blessing, man. I think I mean, to be honest, I I've been my brother used to live in Hollywood, and so I would, back in the day I'd go visit him, you're right. I mean, LA is a different animal.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be tough, man, living there. Not to say, it's negative or anything, but it is definitely there's a lot of temptation in LA, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think, you know, having that insight to say, you know what, I need to make a decision to get out of this environment. I think it's huge, because a lot of people don't ever have that moment, and
Mm.
next thing you know, you're kind of off, on a different path. What was the key
Yeah.
moments in that process? I mean, was there anything in particular that kind of like woke you up, or said, you know what, I need to make a change? Because it's a big move to make. It's a big deal to be able to make that decision.
Yeah, man. So I make a lot of my decisions uh, with peace,
Yeah,
right? If I have peace, and in a lot of ways I didn't have peace while I was out there. And I remember wrestling, praying through it, and if I'm honest, uh, there was a large part of me that didn't want to go home.
I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like Winston wanted to stay in LA. Winston wanted to continue that lifestyle. Um, but there was something in me. My spirit was unsettled and I didn't have the peace. And anytime I had the thoughts of going back home, I would have peace. Peace would fall on me,
Mm.
right? And and so man, one day I just remember getting down and on my knees praying and I just kept hearing God say, "You got to go home, like go home," you know.
Yeah. That's it.
And yeah, man, and so and that's ultimately what led me to coming home, man. Just the unsettledness of my spirit and really just having peace about coming back.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. I think, man, especially in today's world, I mean, there's so much noise, you know what I mean? And there's so many, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. And I feel like a lot of times, and myself included, like from my own experience, is like you'll sacrifice your peace for, whatever it is. Could be some ego reasons or lifestyle or whatever, but to be able to make that decision from that place, I think is super powerful, man. And God always knows best. I mean, he always has a plan for us. And sometimes it's hard for us to see it, just
Yep.
as men, to be like, man, I don't understand why I need to do this, but I'm feeling
Yep.
led to do it, So you go back
Mhm.
home, you meet your wife, you guys start a family together. How does that kind of unfold as far as you with your work and kind of your next steps on your path?
Yep, man. So I've always been pretty involved here in my local church here in Kansas City. And so I get married and a position opened up to be for the youth pastor position.
Nice.
And it's in the area that I grew up in. I would be, ministering to students that, grew up right here in the neck of the woods I grew up in. So there was a degree of like understanding, at least geography, and and man, it was just an amazing opportunity, and I've been doing that for the past 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, being able to minister and man, some of the things that these kids go through, especially in today's day and age with information, right? We live in the information age and technology and social media and comparison and then they have personal stuff going on, right? Parents or and in a teenage world, like a breakup. Oh, dude,
It's
that's like
catastrophic.
oh, the world is about to end, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so man, just navigating. And one of the lessons I've learned about working with teenagers is that they want to feel valued.
Mm.
Um, they want somebody to know that they are thought of and you know them by name, and that they're needed and that they're known, they're valued, and that you listen to them. Teenagers don't like to be talked at. They just want somebody to be there to listen.
Right.
And I've learned that over the past 2 years, and from that place you build trust, and from that place of trust you're able to then counsel and maybe interject what you think could be beneficial for them.
Absolutely. That's huge, man. I feel like, I mean, the youth is always going to be probably the most important part of our population because they're our future, and, I was born in 84. So kind of I kind of still grew up in a place where it wasn't, a whole lot of media. I mean, you had your TV and stuff. I didn't have social media or nothing. And I couldn't imagine like the challenges now that kids face. I mean, they all have phones, there's social media. I mean, it's crazy the amount of exposure. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes it even more important that there's strong counsel, that can help them and kind of, help them navigate those waters that are really, really tough, especially at that young of age when they're still trying to figure so many things out. It's crazy.
Absolutely, Blake. I couldn't agree with you more, man. They're going through hormonal changes.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting season of life, and man, that support is crucial for them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you do the ministry there for the past 2 years. I'm sure that's super fulfilling on many different levels, and, something that you'll take with you for the rest of your life, and you probably expand and grow upon from that experience. What are your next steps? I mean, what are, you go from that, what are your kind of your next steps moving forward on in your life, and how you want to impact, your family and other people?
Yeah, man. So I love ministry. As a profession, uh, it doesn't always pay the bills,
Right.
and there's an aspect of, just being a man that you want to care for your family.
Yep.
And so, man, I had two baby girls, and so my brain began to figure out, like, how can I make sure that the needs of my family are met.
Right.
And so I had a good buddy of mine that I met in college, and he about a year and a half ago, he got into real estate investing.
Okay.
And here in Kansas City, the Kansas City market, and he wholesaled, he flipped, he's got a couple of buying holds. He's kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw his success. He kind of showed me the ropes. And so over this past year, I've been doing it part-time, real estate investing, on my weekends, and even when I get off of work, just calling sellers up and driving for dollars.
Yeah.
And bro, driving for dollars is my favorite. Back to the sports thing, is if you do what others won't, right, you will get the results that others don't.
100%, man. Yeah.
And so, dude, I would drive for 5-6 hours,
Yep.
but I know, something's gonna pop off, if I
100%.
drive for 6, right?
100%. 100%.
And yeah, man. So my next step, like, is really, man, to continue doing the ministry stuff. Still helping out with the youth group, still helping out, serving my local church, but stepping into real estate full time.
That's
And
awesome.
so that the needs of my family are met as well.
That's cool, man. And when I got into real estate, I started, my first 4 deals were from driving for dollars and then knocking on doors. And,
Yes, sir.
and I had the same mentality. I was like, you know what? Well, first off, I had no money. So, so I couldn't spend,
Thanks.
so I couldn't spend like, all this money on marketing. And,
Yep.
so I didn't have a choice, but then I was like, you know what? If I knock on enough of these doors and I call enough of these people, and I drive and I identify enough properties, something's gonna happen. And
Right.
it did. Right. And, it took a little bit, but it finally came to fruition. But, yeah,
Yeah.
man, I remember those days, like thousands of addresses writing down, and, then you get to a point where, like, all you see is, houses, right? Like,
Oh, dude, I paid 2 today on the way here. I was like,
yeah.
let me, and see, we got deal machine, right? So I
Okay.
don't have to write them down,
Yeah.
like
Nice.
you
Nice.
had to back in the
Yeah.
day.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
brother, yeah, man, yeah, hustling. Then that first check, oh, it changed your life.
Absolutely, man. So kind of talk about the real estate journey. Your friend was doing it, he got you in it. What were some of your challenges? Because real estate is, I feel like real estate is, there's a stat that they say 90% of first-time millionaires are made through real estate, which I think is probably true.
Mm.
I also think it's true because it's a tough industry, man. I mean, it's one of those industries where it's like, on the investing side, there may not be necessarily a barrier of entry, as far as like getting credentials or whatnot, but there is as far as your work ethic and your consistency. So there's a
Mm.
lot of challenges with that. What were some of your challenges when you first got into it, diving into that space?
Yeah, man. So I would agree wholeheartedly. Real estate will kick you in the teeth.
Yeah,
And
well,
man, I'm driving, spending my weekends away from my girls, right? And in the evenings, time that I was wanting to spend with my family, but I also knew that, there was things that need to be taken care of. So first off, I had a really strong why, right? I had a really strong purpose as to why I was doing what I was doing. And I tell you, my very first challenge or hiccup was I got a contract. Uh, it was a out of state absentee owner, in a really nice area here in Kansas City, but I couldn't find a seller. I had locked it up just a little bit too high. And so after a while, and I didn't even know this at the time. So the lady goes, "Hey, I'm talking to somebody else. Let's just cancel it. Let's just cancel the contract. You know, I have somebody else." That same exact day, somebody gave me an offer that was above what I had it assigned for. You know, I was
Right.
going to make maybe like 5K or so.
Hmm.
And but in my mind, because she asked for the cancellation, and I didn't want to get like sued or somebody coming at me,
Right. Right.
I sent her the cancellation uh just through email.
Yeah.
And so dude, that was a dagger.
That's tough,
You know,
man. That's tough.
oh,
That's tough.
it
You know what's
was tough.
crazy? What's crazy? That just happened to me this week. Seriously.
Mm, mm,
And we've done quite a bit of deals, but I had a deal in Wichita Falls, Texas. And
mm.
man, I had a hard time. I had a hard time moving it, right? And so I kept going back to the seller. I was like, hey, I think we need to be lower on price, lower on price. And they agreed, and they actually came down on my price. I still had a hard time. So at this point, I had to kind of make, I feel like, an ethical decision, right? And I was like, this was on Friday, last Friday. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I don't think I can sell this thing, right?
Mm, mm,
So I need to let them know. And so I let them know. They're very nice about it. We do the cancellation. Tuesday, I have a
mm.
guy hits me up. Hey man, I'm ready.
Oh
Oh,
no.
yeah. So I try to save it. I try to save it. And I
Yeah,
go, all right. I was like, just have your guy go to the house. I was like, just tell your guy to
yeah,
go to the house. It's only
mm,
been a few days. I'm still good, right?
yeah.
No, man. I call the seller. They go, oh, well, Blake, I mean, thanks for reaching out, but we actually reached out to a local investor and we're closing next week. And I was like, oh my goodness,
Oh,
man.
dang,
So
bro.
yeah.
That's crazy, bro. We had the same exact
Yeah,
scenario.
it just,
That
and
don't that,
man,
that hurts.
it does.
Oh,
It hurts because you're like, wow. I mean, because you don't know. I mean,
right,
you do the best you can.
right.
And
How much
honestly,
were you gonna make on that thing?
17,000.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, mine was only five.
Yeah.
17. That
And
that hurts.
we have a company, so it's not the same as like me making 17, but it's still a nice payday. My acquisition guy gets paid. I mean, I was really looking forward to that, and it was a punch to the gut, man. But it's like a part of me was like, man, maybe I jumped the gun. But then it's like you want to do right by the seller too, right? You don't want to
Exactly.
drag something on, and yeah, that's a tough one, man. Those lessons are those lessons are
Brutal.
tough, but that's how real estate is, man. It's a crazy business. We had a deal that we're closing on tomorrow in Pittsburgh, and it's been in title for a month now, and the buyer calls me this morning, hey, I can't do the deal no more. I'm like, we're
Mm.
closing tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like,
bro. What do you got going on?
yeah. So then he tells me, well, because the building is condemned. I'm like, what? So we call the seller. The seller's like, no, it's not condemned. So, anyways, we end up getting it solved. But man, I'll tell you, the anxiety sometimes they can throw at you, where I'm like,
Man,
dude, we made it this far. We're about to close, and now you're telling me you're backing out. Like,
I'm telling you, bro. It's brutal. It takes an emotional toll.
it does.
And so something that I've been doing, Blake, to kind of help offset that is, dude, I've been getting back into working out, like almost like when I was playing professionally.
Yeah.
Because once I got married and had my babies, I got the dad bod, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
I got the gut, but I got the dad strength too. So
Yeah.
there's a trade-off. Um, but so but this is what I've learned when I play sports is if you make practice difficult, if you make working out in the weight room difficult, then the game time can actually be enjoyed,
100%.
right? The game doesn't doesn't have to be as hard. So I try to do something at 5 o'clock now. I've been getting up and I try to kill myself in the gym, bro.
Yeah,
And so that way, whatever I face today, like I've already done something extremely hard.
I love it.
And so having this hard conversation is actually easier than what I did this morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's such a good point, man. And for me, working out, I was a personal trainer for 10 years. So that's kind of my background. And dude, I work out now for mental health, man. It's real talk,
Yep.
like especially in this business, because it's a great stress reliever. And
Yep.
it's the same
Yep.
thing for me, man. Like it's a place where I can go unleash, unwind. And yeah, this business will definitely do it. We'll definitely do it to you, but a lot of rewards as well, man. So tell me about your first deal that went good. I mean, how did that end up going for you guys?
Yeah, man. So it was a duplex and a triplex just in the suburb right out of here in Kansas City. And I made a 5K pop on both of them. So
Nice,
it
very
was
nice.
it was 10. Yeah, yeah. It was 10 total. And and dude, I kid you not, Blake. When I left that title company and I had that 10K in my hands, dude, you seen that clip in Pursuit of Happiness? Like
Yes,
when Will
yes.
Smith walked out of there,
Yeah. Yeah,
I literally had that moment in my car. It was like I just made the
yep.
Tennessee Titans roster, bro.
Wow.
Like I was so fired up, man. I was just crying. I was thanking God, and I had proof of concept after that.
That's awesome.
Um, that this is legit, that it works, and
Yeah,
so that was my first deal.
that's cool, man. And it's a great feeling, man. I remember my first one was 3,000, and
Mm,
it wasn't a lot, but man, at that time it was. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Because it really, you have to go through the whole process for, I feel like, to really feel real. Because
mhm.
before that I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. I mean, because it took me 6 months to get my first deal to actually close.
Right,
And
right.
it was a pain, man. But once it went through, it was like you said, proof of concept, and then you're just off to the races.
Mhm.
So what does that look like in the future? Once, I mean, you're jumping to real estate full time. What are your kind of your goals and aspirations for that? Growing that moving forward.
Yeah, man. So one thing that intrigues me most about real estate is the freedom that it could provide.
Yep.
Uh, I want to be a present father. Um, and being in the Kansas City market, one thing that we kind of benefit from is just being in the Midwest. You can buy properties that you can burr
Yep.
out of,
Yep.
and so, dude, I want 100 properties in 5 years.
I love it. Wow.
That's my goal, brother. And so 30K hits the account every month,
Yep.
and just from the rental portfolio, as well as growing a wholesaling business, because nothing beats that cash flow.
Right.
Those 10K, 20K, 30, those pops, like, you can't beat that.
You
And
can't.
and
Yeah.
so and so I want to wholesale. I want to wholesale, deals that maybe not fit my criteria for the portfolio. But that's kind of the 5 year plan
That's
is
awesome.
is grow the portfolio and then have a wholesale operation, man. Like I
Yeah.
want to hire some people and have that fully automated to some degree as well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I love wholesaling. I'm just now, I personally only own one property, because I've put so much emphasis on just building this business. But that's kind of my next step as well, is building out that passive income, because it's really, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, well, it's life changing for your family and your legacy and your kids. There's so many blessings there. And I'm excited for you, man. The wholesaling is it's fun, and you're gonna have, I'm telling you, man, the more deals you do, the more crazy, funny stories you're going to have with people. It's some, it's just, I have
Yeah.
some of the funniest stories of my life, man, have been with deals and sellers and stuff. And it's comical, but it's really cool too, because on the service side of it, we're, this is what a lot of people don't talk about with wholesaling, but man, we're providing a really good option for people that are, either distress and they need to get out of their property quick, or they just don't want to go a traditional route, you know? So it's a great service, man, you know, from their end.
Absolutely, Blake. And my very first property, man, they were an elderly couple that had a portfolio and they were selling off their last ones. The husband had a stroke like a year ago. You know, he couldn't do the work to the property. His wife was
Right.
trying to get him. I think they actually moved to Houston, from Kansas
Oh,
City.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, man, their family's down there. And, you know, to hear them thank me, you know, for that transaction just made it all the more, you know, sweet. And it's like, man, I think I can continue doing this, you
Yeah,
know, because you come across some really awesome sellers, man.
you do. And that's what makes it really fulfilling. I mean, there's been some deals where I'm like, man, it's really cool that we're able to get it done. And the sellers are like super grateful for it. You know what I mean? And then some deals are really tough. Some
Oh
deals ain't nobody ever happy. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like, man,
yeah.
you know, but man, I'll say most of the time it's just a relief for the seller. And then I think it's just from an economical standpoint, man, you're really driving the economy. I mean, you're helping the seller cash out, you're helping the buyer acquire a new asset that sparks the economy. And then obviously for you and your company, you know, you make money on it as well. So it's like a win-win-win. And I think it's an awesome business to be in, man. So,
Sure.
man, last words, Winston. It was a pleasure having you on, man. What tips would you give people? I mean, people that are wanting to, you know, venture off, because, you know, your path, you have really gone in different directions, sort of different adventures in your career. You know, you've done it boldly. What advice would you give people that want to maybe start a business, want to do something different, want to, you know, maybe they're being led somewhere else? What advice would you give them to help them with that process?
Yeah. Great question, Blake. So when I think about my journey is find somebody that's doing it, because that could alleviate a lot of the grunt work of figuring it out. So if you can find a mentor, and my buddy, you know, that I went to college with, he helped show me the ropes, right?
Right.
And then YouTube, you know,
Yeah.
watching an infinite amount of videos on
Yeah.
YouTube, like is while I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts, you know, driving for dollars, I'm watching YouTube. I'm just trying to learn the game, was, you know, devouring as much information as I can. And I think that again transcends not just wholesaling, but all entrepreneur endeavors, right? There's somebody that's already done what you're wanting to do, you know, find a way to get in their ear and ask them questions, right? Um, there was when I play sports, I would watch other people's highlights,
Mm.
and I would watch highlights players that kind of mimic how I played the game. Maybe similar stature, similar skill set, right? If I'm watching cold call videos and there's some dude with some big old thundering voice, you know, talking reckless to sellers,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's not me,
Right.
right? So I need to find somebody that kind of suits how I would go about it, right?
Right.
And then I can mimic how they go about it. You know, there's no right or wrong way, but I think that you can accelerate whatever it is you're trying to do by finding somebody that you connect with, and man, find a way to get in their ear. I would say that's starting place number one. But I would even say before that, there's got to be peace, right?
Yes.
Because man, I have jumped and put my hand in a lot of different things, and there's things that we didn't even talk about, you know, that I tried or attempted, but I never stopped to consult God,
Right.
say, Lord, you know, is this something that you would want me to do?
Right.
And it never works out, you know, it never ends well, uh, you know, when you don't have that peace. So, man, have peace about the decision that you're making. Don't overthink it. But after that, find a mentor, somebody that you connect with that can help show you the ropes.
That's awesome, man. Strong advice for 2022. I think that advice can go not just for business and entrepreneurs, but just for people in general, man. So Winston, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks for being on today. And I'm looking forward to connecting more in the future, man. It was awesome.
Thanks, Blake, man. You're the first person that I've done a podcast on. So, dude, extremely thankful, man. I look forward to connecting with you as well in the future.
Absolutely. Sounds good, brother. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. See you, bro. All right. Peace.